club has to offer.
Now that sounds like a splendid idea.
Excellent.
May I suggest a contest of 3 bouts?
That seems most agreeable.
On guard. Infiltrate, elect. Oh, a beautiful hit, monsieur, beautiful. The first round goes to you. On guard. Infiltrate, elect. Touché. The second round goes to you. Therefore, it all depends on the third. Okay, sir.
And the third round goes to you. A round of applause to make sure it's fine.
Welcome to Royal Armories. I'm Keith, this is David.
And what you just witnessed is a couple of bouts of sports fencing as it may have appeared in the late 1800s. Now, the sword we're using today is known as the épée. This is quite simply the French word for sword. However, we do use it in the modern English to refer to a more sportive weapon such as modern fencing épée that Keith is demonstrating now. Now, despite all the costume that we're wearing in the late 1800s, what you just seen is actually very similar to what you're going to find in many fencing clubs around the country today.
So épée fencing is really very easy to learn. You can hit your opponent anywhere on the body, but you must hit them with the tip of the weapon, and you must hit them with an extension of the arm, followed, if necessary, by a lunge on the leading leg. So, if you would like to give us a nice hit with a good lunge, David, there you go, absolutely beautiful. Pushes off on the back leg, lands with a bent front leg, a straight back leg, precisely judges his distance, and hits me where he needs to. But of course, I don't want to be hit, do I? So what I'm going to do is select one or more parries that I can use to offset his weapon. And basically in fencing, you divide the body, modern fencing, you divide the body into 4. So you've got a line running down the centre, you've got a line running across under your chest. So you've got upper right, upper left, lower right, lower left. So once again, 4 lunges, if you please. There you go. But the thing then is that fencers, whether they are dueling for their lives or dueling for competition, will very rarely simply stand there exchanging blows. What will happen is one or other fencer will gain the advantage. He will try to get in close. He will run his opponent backwards. The opponent will desperately try and get the advantage back. So what happens then with your lunge? What you do is you turn it into an advance by moving up with the back leg and then pushing off for another lunge. And if you're going backwards, you reach in a sort of backward lunge with your back leg and then follow back with your front. So if you give me 3 lunges in quick succession, David. Oh, very nicely done. Bit of deceit in there with the blade. So once you learn those basic techniques, you'll be ready to start competitive épée fencing. Why? Because these are simple, direct, effective techniques originally developed for the Duel of Honour.
Yes, Duel of Honour, an age-old tradition where 2 offended parties will meet up and settle their differences through force of arms. Now, these earlier duels were often fought to the death. However, here in England, under the rule of Queen Elizabeth I, this sort of duelling was made illegal. Unfortunately for the Queen, it proved too popular a practice, and people would continue to duel one another well into the 20th century.
However, if you were an Elizabethan duelist, you wouldn't be using a lightweight weapon like we just used. You will be using a different weapon, a rapier. And this is an example of one type of rapier, a so-called cut hilted rapier. And you can see it's all together a longer, broader, and inevitably slightly heavier weapon. But some of these rapiers, particularly in the Elizabethan period, reach ridiculous proportions. Some of them had blades as long as this blade and the dagger blade together. And that's why David's carrying the dagger. Because in Elizabethan jewellery, a practice grew up attacking with the sword, but always trying to defend with the dagger. Meant you didn't have to wave that big, nasty, great long blade around. That takes us through most of the 1600s. As we come into the 1700s, though, things change. A new sword, thank you, David. comes into existence. This, the so-called small sword, so-called because it's got a shorter, lighter blade and a much less bulky hilt. And the thing about small swords is that they went from being broad-bladed weapons in their initial incarnation to being very often swords like this which have a triangular sectional blade. And that means you're getting maximum penetration with your blade and minimum weight. And what that means is now you can attack and you can defend with the sword alone. So you don't need a dagger anymore, so the dagger goes out of fashion. Well, that takes us roughly to the end of the 1700s. As we come into the 1800s, things change again. The sword falls out of favour as a dueling weapon. A pistol becomes the primary way to settle affairs of honour. And this happens at almost exactly the same time as countries all over Europe are legislating to try and get rid of the duel altogether.
Well, except for France, of course.
Oh, yes, France.
In fact, the last duel of honour to occur in France happened as late as 1967. If you don't believe me, you can go online and on YouTube. The entire duel was filmed. Now, of course, these later duels are not fought to the death. They're fought to what is known as first blood. The idea being any cut, nick, or wound the chief would have satisfaction had, and the two offended parties might part ways. But don't underestimate it. These later duels are still conducted with a great deal of seriousness, as the reputation of the losing party can be damaged forever. So we're now going to talk to you a little bit about one of these late 19th century French duels. It took place in 1898 during a military scandal that's become famously known as the Dreyfus affair. Yes, Captain Alfred Dreyfus was a French officer, and he was wrongly accused of spying on the German army. He was found guilty of this crime in 1894 and sentenced to life imprisonment in a penal colony known as Devil's Island.
And then in 1896, as we told you earlier, a new head of military intelligence, Georges Picard, the person I played in the fencing sequence, took over. And he became convinced that Dreyfus was not the actual spy. The real man was called Esterhazy, but he had a devil of a time proving it, and it took him several years to do so.
During his investigations, he came across a rather obstructive officer of the name Hubert Joseph Henri, who openly and publicly declared Picard quite simply as a lie.
And that meant that Picard demanded a duel to first blood,
which Henri accepts. Now, if we're to conduct a duel of first blood today in duel, we are going to need our seconds. Seconds are friends or associates of the fighters who are there to make sure that fair play is enacted upon. Now, me and Keith don't have any friends. And so you today are going to be our seconds. So, over here you shall be my seconds. Over here you shall be Keith's seconds. And we have not forgotten about you wonderful people. You shall be the final judges in today's combat. Now it's very simple really. Me and Keith are going to fight one another and we're going to hit one another, hopefully. And if we do, we're going to ask you to check for blood. If you do not see blood, you shout, "No blood!" And we carry on fighting. If you do see blood, you shout, "First blood!" and we stop fighting. Is that understood? Yes? Excellent. Well then, let's get this rather distasteful rematch underway.
Yes, and this time we're not dueling over a bottle of wine, are we? We're dueling for our honour.
Checking the first blood. That's easy.
Any blood?
No blood. No blood? Stuck wrong with my sword.
No, just the technique.
Well struck. Any blood? No blood. obligation. But we do like to think that it spurred him on to carry on that good work. And good work it was. We would finally find Captain Alfred Dreyfus innocent of his crimes, and the captain would be released in 1906. Now, as for the captain himself, believe it or not, would continue to serve the French army with great gusto, with great courage, well into World War I. As for the villain of the piece, Joseph Henri, well, he was arrested shortly after the scandal broke. He was then found shortly after dead in his prison cell under rather dubious circumstances.
Yes, but these are all the minor characters. What happens to the hero? What happens to Georges Picard?
Yes, of course, Georges Picard. Well, Georges Picard would continue to work for the French army, and on the eve of World War I, in 1914, he would go to ride his horse one morning, all up and die.
Wait. I'm the hero, and I go out for a ride and fall off my horse and die? That's not very romantic, is it?
I'm sorry, Keith, but I don't write history.
Oh, I don't suppose you do. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, a brief introduction to épées and épée fencing at the end of the 1800s. In France, myself and David will be around for a few minutes now. If you want to come up, ask us any questions, or take a look at the weapons.